Well, 133, the key number now as India lead, but four wickets have fallen after India started reasonably well on fourth day of this first test at Kanpur. Let's get Dan Vittori and Wasim Jafar's thoughts on ESPN Cricket for match day. Wasim, please sum that session up. Five wickets down, a lead of 133. Where does India stand?
India will be, I think, Ronak, they'll be happy with the second hour. I think New Zealand did most of the damage in the first hour, and full credit to them. I mean, it's been a little strange that out of 15 wickets, 12 wickets have fallen to the fast bowlers of New Zealand, and when we India bowled, we've got 9 wickets of the spinners. So it's been a little bit strange, but you got to give credit to how they've come back into this test match. I think it has happened far too many times that the 5, 6, 7 has to do the thing for the Indian. But India will be little trouble, but I think batsmen coming in this partnership, batsmen like Saha and Axar, they'll have to contribute them to a close to 200, 225 run lead. And I think that's where I think India will feel comfortable.
Dan, what do you make? Can you make? Oh, well, Dan's not with us. I think we're going to have him back in just a moment. But perhaps Wasim, you can just extend on that point and try and help our viewers understand better why we've seen this, this disparity. Dan's back as well, right? Dan, if I can come to you, Wasim's point that it's been a strange sort of test. India relying on their spin for wickets, and New Zealand seamers even on day four at Kanpur continuing to be a threat.
It is strange in terms of that, but I think the test match feels like it's followed a similar rhythm to a lot of test matches in India, where obviously it's easy to score in the first innings and you can build big partnerships, but ultimately you can lose clumps of wickets, and I think that's obviously happened in this. And whilst India will be upset with the way they played in that innings, if they can get to a lead of 200, 230, then they're going to be in the box seat. And ultimately, the way that the dismissals come about, it probably proves that that New Zealand don't face this amount of spin all that often. And whilst they are a very good team and experienced team, it's still coming from none of this sort of cricket for a long period of time. And the flip side of that is that India don't face this quality of seam in these conditions all that often either. So, look, I just think it is the quality of the bowlers on show and the wickets giving them enough to allow them to be successful.
All right, fair enough. Opportunity lost, Wasim, for a player like Mayank Agarwal. It's a crowded Indian 11 these days. You have to make an impression.
I think so. I think he's played out the first half an hour, but he would be unhappy that after playing for that long, he's got out in the slips on the fourth day. So he'll be a little upset. But like I said, you got to give credit to Saudi and Jamieson how they bowled on the day four pitch, and they've got a couple of slips on day four. Goes on to show that how well they have bowled.
He's not rusty, Kane Williamson, the captain, or he's not fatigued at all, is he, Dan? He's still been spot on.
No, they have a style of play, and I think this was obviously when Brendan McCullum was captain, and he's passed it on to Kane, and they like to attack, and they like to attack in a variety of ways, and they attack with Southey with slips and close fielders, and Jameson as well. If Wagner's in the team, they'll go to the short pitch bowling and look to go around the wicket. So what he will turn to a couple of things when things aren't quite going their way, but ultimately he can turn to Southey and he can turn to Jameson, and we'd probably run out of superlatives to describe how well these two have bowled in these conditions, and they've been fantastic. To see Southey swinging the ball like he does with two slips in, putting quality Indian batsmen under pressure with a moving ball is not something that we see that often in day four in a test match in India.
All right, now the big question. Ajinkya Rahane came into the series with some pressure around his performance, his form. Wasim Jafar, what have these two dismissals, these two innings told you about Rahane?
I think he would be more upset with the start that he got in the first inning and didn't convert into a big one, because second innings, anytime when you bat on the day four, day five pitch is going to be hard work. So you can understand that second innings is always going to be a struggle. But the first inning, when the conditions are good for batting, that's where I think he would be upset that he didn't convert into a big score there. So it's going to be a big question when Virat Kohli comes in. who goes out, and what kind of combination Indian team plays, because Mayank hasn't got runs, Ajinkya hasn't got runs, Pujara hasn't got runs. I mean, compared to Ajinkya and Pujara definitely has a lot more runs in this calendar year compared to Ajinkya. But it's going to be a big question mark going into the next test.
Hmm. Can I poke you on that now, Wasim? If you had to make that decision, are you ready to make it yet, or are you still going to wait?
I think in India, Ronak, when the batsman's out of form, the bowler sits out. So India, so
That's the
India
same
might
everywhere,
go.
was it?
Yeah, so you might see four bowlers playing in one khede. But I mean, it's a tricky question because somebody who's captain on the first test, you
Hmm.
will think twice before dropping him for the second test. So it's going to be a tricky one. You might, I mean, I'll probably think about opening with Saha, and if at all I have to drop Mayank, then that is the one option I might put.
Okay, that's very interesting. Let me ask you, Ambikori. Right, there are all sorts of opinions, aren't there, about where Ajinkya Rahane's game is at the moment. But where's his game for you, Dan? Is he the sort of player that even looks like he's likely to get you runs? Is he oozing that sort of confidence?
No, he isn't. Even though I still think his style of play is where he wants it to be in terms of he looks like he wants to be aggressive. It doesn't feel tentative the way he's playing, but he is getting out, and ultimately that starts to weigh on a batsman's mind. And I think in a lot of ways, being dropped and then having the ability to come back can reset a lot of things for someone, particularly as a batsman. And if you go into every Test match with that pressure on your shoulders about scoring runs, then it can wear you down after a while. So in a lot of ways, if they leave him out of the next Test match, I don't think it is the death knell for his career. I think it is just the one Test match dropping, because it just resets everything, gives them a chance to go back and do a little bit of work. So I think that's probably where they have to get to. It's hard to drop someone after they score 100 in Test debut in terms of Shreyas Iyer, and obviously with the quality of the batsmen that are coming back, it probably will be Rahane that makes way.
No, as it turns out, this Indian team, Dan, if you find yourself out of it, good luck trying to get back into it. Now, let's leave the Rahane chat for perhaps the end of the test match more in detail. But let's ask you now if New Zealand is still in this game, 133, Dan Vittori, they're still in it?
Absolutely. I mean, any score in this fourth inning is going to be a challenge. Those three spinners are so good that they can put so much pressure on, and they can take quick wickets. So 50 for none chasing 160 can easily turn into 60 for four, and then the pressure goes straight back onto New Zealand. So look, New Zealand would like to chase anything under 200, and on what we've seen so far, that's realistic. But 200 is still going to be a huge ask in this fourth inning.
Wasim, what sort of score would keep India safe relatively?
I think 250 would be safe if I have to think about it. But I think going forward, 180 plus would be a decent score if they can get into that. And like I said, Saha and Aksar has to contribute, and this partnership has to go on a little bit more in the second session. So 180 plus is something which I feel will be a good score to depend on fourth innings.
All right. Well, let's see where this game stands at tea time then. Dan Vittori, Wasim Jaffer, intriguing test match rolls on. The lead is on 133. Again, it is left to Shreyas Iyer to almost bail India out of a little bit of trouble on his test debut. That's quite a lot to ask for, but R. Ashwin looks pretty good with that. There is still some batting to come, and that first innings lead could be vital, as Wasim Jaffer said earlier on ESPN Cricket for Matchday. We'll pick up the chat at tea time.